Joining me now is Adrienne Foster. She's running for Congress in Kansas as a Republican. That primary will be held in August. This is for the seat of former Republican that was there, Kevin Yoder, got crushed last time in 2018 during the so-called blue wave. And Adrienne is with us now. Adrienne Foster, welcome to the John Fredericks Show. Great to have you.
Good morning, John, and thank you for having me.
Adrienne, tell our audience about your district, who represents it, why you're running for Congress.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm running for Congress to restore our values of faith, family, and freedom to the place that needs it most, Congress. And I can tell you, Sharice Davids doesn't represent any of our Kansas values. And, right now I was listening to the infrastructure discussion that you were having, and I agree with our president. One of the things he does best is building. And we need to try to build our way out of this coronavirus. We must weigh the health risk of this disease with the mental health and economic toll that it continues to take. However, without question, government has grown and freedom has diminished over the last few weeks. And I believe that trades are important to our economy. We can build our middle class, and the best way to do that is through tax cuts, reducing regulation, immigration reform, and also working with our trades. I'm proud to say that recently, at the young age of 57, my husband has recently become an apprentice in the electrical union here, and we need to reform workers' compensation and collective bargaining. Right now, it's done through the states, and we need to be able to bring that back to local government. Local government is always the best government.
All right, Adrienne, tell me a little bit about the makeup of the district.
Well, we're a plus 12 Republican district, and you're right. In the blue wave of November of 2018, Sharice Davids came in from Minnesota. She had very little connection to Kansas, but she had the help of Bloomberg's funding, and the Democrats came in, paid their volunteers, and we also had a perfect storm here in Kansas. There was also the governor was up for Governor Brownback, who I used to work for as an appointee. He was done with his term. Chris Kobach was running, and many of the women, Republican women, the soccer moms, were not going to go out to vote for him and press the button. So 30,000 Johnson Countyans, who makes up the majority of our voting bloc, did not come out to vote. And that is the suburban women that I'm sure you've talked about before, and how to get them engaged and come back to the party. But it's really not about party, honestly. It's really about how we can get someone who reflects our values. And family, faith, and freedom are not just Republican values. Those are American values. And as someone that has grown up, born and raised here in our district, grew up in the poorest district, Wyandotte County, and I was the first one to go to college. I'm the youngest of 12. I had many firsts, but I'll tell you what, my father, who was a first-generation immigrant, whose parents came from Mexico here legally through the railroad, and you were talking about rail before I caught on. Building up our rail is very important to our infrastructure, and we need to go back to that and invest in that. But when he came, when he was raised, he also served our country. Him and 3 of his brothers served in World War II, and I'm very proud about that because 3 of my siblings also served in our armed forces, and my second oldest son is also in the Army Reserves. So we have a lot of connections in regards to serving our country. I'm proud to say I was the first in my family to be in politics. They're all Democrats, and Wyandotte County is 90%, well, I wouldn't say 90%. I'd say about 85% Democrat, a lot of independents, and very few Republicans. But how I can beat Sharice Davids is because I can bring that Democrat vote over to vote for me because they know me. I grew up there. Many of them are my family members. I got about 1,025 first cousins. As I said, a big Catholic family, youngest of 12. The average number of children you can have in my family is 5. I have 5 boys. And so And my husband is one of 13, another big Catholic family.
So
we have a huge grassroots team.
You got two huge families, Adrienne Foster. You basically start with your own family vote base. Let me just go back to something that you said. We're with Adrienne Foster. Adrienne Foster is a candidate for Congress in Kansas, running in the 2nd district. That's right now represented by a liberal Pelosi Democrat, Sharice Davis, who got in there in the blue wave. You said this district you're in is R plus. Did you say 12?
12.
Did I hear that?
12. Yes.
Okay, so no way you should have lost this district to begin with, not you personally, but the GOP there. But I get what you're saying about Chris Kobach, one of the hardliner on immigration. Soccer moms didn't come out and vote for him. They stayed home, so that was a down ticket disaster. Well, he's running for U.S. Senate now, right? So
yes.
If he gets the nomination again, and now he's on the ballot, top of the ticket again, what's going to change?
Well, I'll tell you, that is the number one question right now. And it's a very contentious race right now for all, I think there's 6 or 7 of them running. And if they don't bail out, if a couple don't bail out, then, there is a high likelihood for him to be at the top of the ticket. And I'll tell you, it will not be easy for anyone down ticket to win. It's going to be a real challenge. And I think that's what Kansas GOP is looking at, and I think that's what a lot of Washington, D.C. is looking at. I know that Club for Growth has been coming in and pushing hard for one of the candidates, and it's kind of scary.
Well, we went from, nationally, you went from, Mike Pompeo going back to run. He said no. Matt Schlapp, who's in Washington, I never thought that was going to work. Him and Mercedes talked about going back there. He didn't do that. So you've got some other candidates, but if Chris Kobach at top of the ticket in Kansas had that much of a chilling effect on normal Republican soccer moms that just wouldn't turn out and vote for the guy, you might have the same thing if he's the nominee again. However, that district should be a winnable district. We're with Adrienne Foster, 2nd district congressional candidate, Kansas, represented by Sharice Davis, very liberal. She's trying to get the nomination. Your primary is in August, right?
Yes, August 4th.
And it's there's 3 candidates in, and it's a straight plurality. So you basically need 35% in order to be the nominee.
That is correct, about 36,000.
And you're going to get outspent probably, 3, 4, 5 to 1. Although money isn't everything, it is a factor in every race. So, Adrienne, you're going to get outspent. You started late. Why should Kansas Republicans in the 2nd district make Adrienne Foster the nominee?
Because I'm the only candidate that can beat Sharice Davids. And I'm going to go back to the money thing. If it was all about the money, Kevin Yoder had way more money. I think he had $2 million more than Sharice Davids. So he had the money to beat her. He just didn't have the ground game. I have the best ground game. I have over 400 volunteers who are ready to walk once this coronavirus. In fact, we were walking in January. We had walkers walking in January. And in Kansas, that's cold. But, they all believe in what we believe in. And we all believe that Sharice Davids does not represent Kansas values of family, faith, and freedom. And the other 2 ladies that I'm running against who are actually, contenders, one was a registered Democrat her whole entire life until December of 2017. So we celebrated her 2-year Republican anniversary. She was appointed by Governor Martin O'Malley in December of 2014 to serve on his commission. She came to Kansas to go to high school and went to college in Missouri. The only connection she has, again, is to going to high school. She's branding herself as a political conservative outsider, when in fact she's an only outsider to conservatives during her time with O'Malley and Moore and Barack Obama. The other girl that's the number one fundraiser. Her main career, her whole adult life, has been working in government affairs for Cerner, who has received billions with a B of dollars profiting off both Obamacare and Medicaid expansion. And then although she states she's not for Medicaid expansion, but only personally profiting from it, from Cerner, she hasn't even resigned from her position at Cerner. she's on a leave of absence. And she only went on a leave of absence after a half a year of running for Congress. And she too claims to be she also claims to be conservative builder and believer. But the only thing that she is building and believing in is fighting for larger government. That's the last thing we need right now.
So, Adrienne, we're with Adrienne Foster. She's one of 3 Republicans running for the GOP nomination. I'm sorry, I said the 3rd congressional district. It's in the top 10 in the United States, probably top 5 races. R plus 12. Kevin Yoder in a district R plus 12. Yoder got beat by 10. That's a 22-point swing. That's like a comedy show, okay? So, look, he didn't stand for anything. He got beat. I get that. You're running now, and you got 2 people opposing you in the primary. One is a career lobbyist, right? Basically,
yes.
She's got the money. She's got the power structure behind her. The other person was a Martin O'Malley appointee in Maryland, right? In Maryland, this is one of the most liberal governors in the history of the country. Martin O'Malley. She serves in his administration, then goes to Virginia, then specifically moves to Kansas to run in the 3rd district, right?
You got that right, Mike.
John, right. I got it.
John, sorry.
That's okay. So let me just ask you this straight out, okay? So how do you win this race? And forget Sharice Davis, right? If you can't get 35% in August, that's irrelevant. How do you come from nowhere, outspent? You've got an establishment lobbyist candidate. You got somebody that carpet bagged in from Maryland, who is basically think about this, a Martin O'Malley appointee in the People's Republic of Maryland, right? One of the most left-wing governors in the history of the country. I mean, he destroyed the state. So she goes there. Now she's in Kansas. How do you get 35% of the vote, Adrienne, and win this race?
Well, I'll tell you, we've been doing it ground game. I do have over 1,500 small donors. It's a playbook from the Democratic Party, ground game and small donors, and continuing to go to those small donors. And again, I'm in 2nd place in fundraising. And when Sarah, the O'Malley appointee, she's given herself over $135,000 personal loan. And so we continue working on our ground game. I have over 100 volunteers making phone calls 5 days out of the week and getting my messaging out. Social media has played a huge role during this whole my background with the Small Business Administration and outlining to our district that I'm not Kevin Yoder. I'm not the white Republican male. I'm Hispanic. I'm proud of my heritage. I'm an American. I have a lot of firsts in my first to go to high school or college, first to come in politics and being the mayor during the recession. Those other girls do not have my experience. And that experience is going to what takes me to Congress and be their voice. And that's what a lot of those suburban moms want to see. They don't want to see the white old guy, so sorry, and they don't want to see a male. They want to see a woman who is empowered, who's not a femme-bati, but is proud to be feminine, and that is me. And I'm a fighter. And, you know, and I don't want to bring Sharice Davis up again, but she's an MMA fighter. I mean, what else? A congresswoman from Kansas who's an MMA fighter, it's just not representative at all.
I think you're definitely one of the best candidates we have in the United States. I wish you the best. Let's get you on our show more. Amanda Atkins, she's the front runner there. She's the rage of all the GOP establishment. But let me just tell you this. If you like Mitt Romney, you're going to love Amanda Atkins, because that basically Amanda Atkins is the Mitt Romney version of the Kansas Republican. Oh, she's got the resume, Brownback, served as GOP chair. Hey, as soon as I see somebody that served as party chair running for Congress, I'm immediately for somebody else. So, look, all these people in there, Sarah Hart, we're the other person you're running against. Martin O'Malley is all you have to remember about her. Adrienne, if people want more information on your campaign, where do they go?
Well, they can. My Twitter handle is Foster for Kansas, which is also the same for my Facebook. You can go to adrienneforkansas.com is my website. And anytime, I'm going to even throw out my cell phone number. You want to call me, you have any questions, it's 913-908. John, thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to being back on your show.